In a bustling medieval kingdom nestled between towering mountains and lush green valleys, life thrived under the watchful eyes of its rulers. The kingdom was known far and wide for its prosperity, fairness, and strength, all thanks to the unwavering dedication of its royal guard. Among them stood Captain Alaric Vane, a man whose name echoed through the halls of the castle with respect and admiration. For years he had been the king's right hand, leading the guard with discipline and honor. His skill with a sword was unmatched, and his loyalty to the crown was legendary. Yet despite his reputation, even heroes can find themselves entangled in webs spun by those who envy their success. Alaric's days were filled with duties that tested both his courage and wisdom. From patrolling the borders to ensuring the safety of the royal family, he bore responsibilities that few could shoulder. He lived a simple yet fulfilling life, choosing modest quarters within the castle walls over grandeur. To many, he was more than just a soldier. He was a symbol of hope, a man who embodied the virtues of justice and bravery. But behind closed doors, not everyone shared this view. Whispers began to spread among the nobles and servants alike, fueled by jealousy and mistrust. Some claimed that Alaric's rise to power had made him arrogant, while others muttered about how long it had been since anyone questioned his actions. It all started one fateful morning, when the royal treasury reported a shocking discovery. Gold coins worth a fortune had vanished without a trace. Panic rippled through the court as officials scrambled to investigate. The treasury was one of the most secure places in the kingdom, guarded day and night by trusted members of the royal guard. How could such a theft occur? Suspicion quickly turned into accusation, and fingers began pointing in every direction. It wasn't long before an anonymous letter arrived at the palace gates, naming Alaric as the mastermind behind the crime. The letter claimed that Alaric had grown greedy, using his position to exploit the kingdom's wealth for personal gain. At first, no one believed the accusations. How could someone so loyal commit such an act? But then came the evidence. A ledger, found inside the treasury itself, bearing what appeared to be Alaric's signature. The handwriting matched perfectly, leaving little room for doubt. Even worse, 2 guards stationed outside the treasury swore they had seen Alaric enter late at night on the day of the theft. Their testimonies painted a damning picture, turning public opinion against him almost overnight. Friends became wary, allies distanced themselves, and whispers grew louder. Alaric, once revered, now found himself isolated and distrusted. When the king summoned him to the throne room, Alaric walked in with his head held high, confident that the truth would set him free. But the look on the king's face told him otherwise. There was sadness in the monarch's eyes mixed with disappointment. "Alaric," the king said gravely, "you have served this kingdom well, but these charges cannot go unanswered." Despite Alaric's protests of innocence, the king ordered his arrest. Chains clinked around his wrists as soldiers escorted him to the dungeons, where darkness swallowed him whole. Sitting alone in his cell, Alaric replayed the events leading up to his imprisonment. Who could have forged his signature so flawlessly? Why would anyone frame him for such a heinous crime? As hours turned into days, anger simmered beneath his calm exterior. He knew there was a traitor among them, someone close enough to know his habits and bold enough to orchestrate his downfall. But who, and why? These questions haunted him, gnawing at his resolve. Yet deep down, Alaric refused to give up. He vowed to uncover the truth no matter the cost. News of his arrest spread like wildfire across the kingdom. Commoners gathered in marketplaces, discussing the scandal with hushed voices. Some defended Alaric, refusing to believe he could betray the crown. Others sided with the evidence, convinced that even heroes could falter. Meanwhile, the nobility watched from the shadows, some smugly satisfied, others uneasy about the implications. The trial loomed ahead, promising to be the most talked-about event in recent memory. Everyone wanted answers, but only time would reveal whether justice would truly prevail. For Alaric, the days leading up to the trial felt endless. Each moment weighed heavily on his shoulders, testing his patience and faith. Yet amidst the despair, a flicker of determination remained. He thought of the countless lives he had protected, the battles he had fought, and the sacrifices he had made for the kingdom. If nothing else, he owed it to himself, and to the people who still believed in him, to fight for the truth. Little did he know, the trial would unearth secrets far greater than he could have imagined, changing the course of his life forever. The day of the trial arrived, and the grand hall of the capital city buzzed with anticipation. Nobles, merchants, soldiers, and commoners alike filled every available space, eager to witness the fate of Captain Alaric Vane. The air was thick with tension, a mix of curiosity and disbelief swirling among the crowd. For many, it was hard to reconcile the image of their once beloved hero with the accusations of betrayal now hanging over him. Some whispered prayers for his innocence, while others exchanged skeptical glances, convinced that even the strongest men could fall prey to greed. At the center of the hall stood a raised platform where the judge's chair sat, flanked by tables for the prosecution and defense. Behind Alaric, his appointed counsel, a seasoned lawyer named Sir Cedric Hale, leafed through documents preparing his arguments. Before him, the prosecutor, Lady Mira Harlow, paced confidently, her sharp eyes scanning the room as if searching for any sign of weakness in her opponent. She was known for her relentless pursuit of justice, though some claimed she cared more about winning than uncovering the truth. Her presence alone sent shivers down the spines of those who dared cross her path. When the judge finally entered, the murmurs died down into an eerie silence. Lady Seraphine Montclair, a woman renowned for her fairness and intellect, took her seat. Her stern expression gave nothing away, but her piercing gaze seemed to peer straight into the hearts of those present. With a firm strike of her gavel, she declared the proceedings open. "Let us begin," she said, her voice steady and commanding. "The kingdom demands answers." Lady Harlow wasted no time launching into her case. She painted a vivid picture of Alaric as a man corrupted by power, someone who had grown too comfortable in his position and succumbed to temptation. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, addressing the courtroom with theatrical flair, "we gather here today not just to determine guilt or innocence, but to protect the integrity of our beloved kingdom. The evidence before you speaks volumes." She gestured dramatically toward the ledger placed on the table, its pages worn but damning. "This document bears the signature of the accused, proving beyond doubt that Captain Alaric Vane conspired to steal from the very treasury he swore to protect." Her words struck a chord with the audience, drawing murmurs of agreement. To bolster her argument, she called forward the two guards who claimed to have seen Alaric near the treasury on the night of the theft. One by one, they recounted their testimonies, describing how they had spotted him slipping inside during the late hours when no one else should have been there. Their stories aligned perfectly, leaving little room for doubt. As each detail unfolded, the weight of the accusations pressed harder on Alaric, whose face remained impassive despite the storm brewing within him. Sir Cedric rose to counter these claims, his tone measured yet fiery. "Your Honor, esteemed members of this court," he began, addressing Lady Montclair directly, "what we have here is not proof of guilt, but a collection of circumstantial evidence designed to mislead. My client has served this kingdom faithfully for decades, risking his life time and again to defend its people. Are we truly willing to cast aside such devotion based on forged documents and hearsay?" He turned his attention to the ledger, holding it up for all to see. "This so-called evidence is riddled with inconsistencies. Upon closer inspection, experts will confirm that the ink used does not match the standard supplies issued to the treasury clerks. Furthermore, the handwriting, while similar to Captain Vane's, shows subtle signs of forgery, traits only detectable under careful scrutiny." His words sparked whispers among the crowd, planting seeds of doubt in minds that had previously leaned toward conviction. To strengthen his defense, Sir Cedric called upon witnesses who attested to Alaric's character. A veteran soldier spoke of the countless battles they had fought together, praising Alaric's unwavering sense of duty. A merchant recalled how Alaric had intervened to stop thieves from robbing his shop, refusing any reward for his actions. Even a young apprentice blacksmith shared a story of how Alaric had personally funded repairs to his family's home after a fire destroyed it. Each testimony painted a portrait of a man who lived not for wealth or glory, but for the betterment of others. Despite these efforts, the tide seemed insurmountable. Lady Harlow countered each point with precision, questioning the credibility of the witnesses and dismissing technicalities as irrelevant. No amount of good deeds can erase the fact that Captain Vane's name appears on this ledger, she argued, slamming her hand on the table for emphasis. And unless proven otherwise, we must assume his guilt. As the trial dragged on, Alaric sat quietly, observing the chaos around him. He felt like a stranger in his own story, watching as pieces of his life were dissected and debated by strangers. Yet beneath his calm exterior, frustration simmered. How could they believe he would stoop so low? Did they not see the absurdity of accusing a man who had given everything for the kingdom of stealing from it? Just when it seemed the scales of justice were tipping irreversibly against him, something unexpected happened. The clerk, tasked with reading aloud the formal charges, announced the defendant's full title: Captain Alaric Darius Vane, Knight of the Crimson Flame. The moment the name left his lips, Lady Montclair froze mid-motion. Her pen slipped from her fingers, clattering, onto the desk, and she slowly rose to her feet. The entire courtroom fell silent, confused by her sudden reaction. Lady Montclair stared at Alaric, her expression unreadable. For a brief moment, it seemed as though she might say something, but instead, she excused herself and stepped out of the hall. The pause that followed was deafening, leaving everyone wondering what had caused such a dramatic interruption. When she returned moments later, her demeanor had changed entirely. Gone was the cold, impartial judge. In her place stood a woman, visibly shaken, her eyes filled with reverence. Without explanation, she adjourned the session, instructing both sides to prepare additional arguments for the next day. As the crowd dispersed, murmurs of speculation rippled through the hall. What had Lady Montclair heard that no one else understood? And why did the mention of Alaric's full name evoke such a profound response? For Alaric, the mystery deepened. But one thing was certain: the trial was far from over, and the truth was closer than anyone realized. The next morning, the courtroom was abuzz with speculation. Whispers echoed through the grand hall as people speculated about Lady Montclair's abrupt departure and her strange behavior upon hearing Alaric's full name. Some suggested it was a mere coincidence, while others believed there was more to the story, something hidden beneath layers of history that no one had yet uncovered. The air was thick with anticipation as everyone waited for the trial to resume. When Lady Montclair finally entered, her demeanor was different. She carried herself with an air of solemnity, her movements deliberate and measured. It was clear she had something significant to say. Taking her seat, Lady Montclair addressed the court in a voice that commanded attention. "Before we proceed further," she began, her tone calm but firm, "I must address a matter of great importance, one that has only just come to light." She paused, scanning the room, her gaze lingering briefly on Alaric before turning to the prosecutor and defense counsel. "It concerns the defendant's lineage, specifically his middle name, Darius." The mention of the name sent ripples through the crowd. A few older nobles exchanged knowing glances, their expressions shifting from confusion to recognition. Others leaned forward in their seats, eager to hear what connection this ancient-sounding name might have to the case at hand. Lady Montclair continued, her voice taking on a reverent tone. "To those unfamiliar with our kingdom's history, the name Darius may hold little meaning. But to those who know the tales of old, it is synonymous with heroism, sacrifice, and honor." She explained that centuries ago, during a time when the kingdom teetered on the brink of collapse, a man named Lord Darius Vane emerged as its savior. According to legend, he led a small band of loyal soldiers against an invading army that vastly outnumbered them. Against all odds, Lord Darius fought valiantly, holding the line long enough for reinforcements to arrive. However, victory came, at a terrible cost. Mortally wounded in battle, Lord Darius gave his life to ensure the survival of the crown and the people he swore to protect. His bravery became the stuff of legends, passed down through generations as a testament to unwavering loyalty. Lady Montclair then revealed a personal connection to this story. Her voice softened as she spoke of her own family's debt to House Vane. My ancestors were among those saved by Lord Darius's sacrifice, she confessed, her words tinged with emotion. They vowed to safeguard the descendants of his bloodline, ensuring that their legacy would never be forgotten. That vow has been passed down through my family for centuries, though I admit I did not fully grasp its weight until now. Turning to Alaric, she asked, "Captain Vane, do you know the significance of your middle name?" Alaric shook his head slowly, his brow furrowing in confusion. He had always known his name held some importance. It was tradition in noble families to bestow meaningful names, but he had never delved deeply into its origins. Lady Montclair nodded, as if expecting his response. "Then allow me to enlighten you," she said. "You are the direct descendant of Lord Darius Vane. His blood runs through your veins, binding you to a legacy of unparalleled valor." The revelation stunned the courtroom into silence. Even Lady Harlow, whose confidence had been unshakable throughout the trial, appeared momentarily shaken. Sir Cedric seized the opportunity to press the point further. Rising to his feet, he addressed the judge. "Your Honor, if what you say is true, and I have no reason to doubt your word, then the implications are profound. This is not merely a case of theft. It is an attack on a family whose contributions to this kingdom are beyond measure. To accuse Captain Vane of such treachery is not only unjust, but also disrespectful to the memory of his ancestor." "Lady," Montclair agreed, her expression resolute. "Indeed, Counselor, we cannot ignore the gravity of this discovery. If Captain Vane is indeed the heir to Lord Darius's legacy, then we must ask ourselves, why would someone so deeply tied to the kingdom's survival betray it? What motive could possibly drive him to commit such a crime?" Her questions hung in the air, forcing everyone to reconsider the evidence presented thus far. Was it possible that the accusations against Alaric were part of a larger scheme? Could someone be trying to tarnish the reputation of House Vane for reasons unknown? The prosecutor, sensing the shift in momentum, attempted to regain control. "Your Honor," Lady Harlow interjected, "while this newfound information is intriguing, it does not negate the evidence against the defendant. The ledger still bears his signature, and witnesses have testified to seeing him near the treasury." Lady Montclair raised a hand, silencing her. "That may be true, but context matters. Given the historical significance of Captain Vane's lineage, we must scrutinize the evidence even more carefully. I propose we adjourn temporarily to allow both sides to investigate further. Perhaps the truth lies not in what we see, but in what remains hidden." With that, the session was suspended once again, leaving the courtroom abuzz with renewed fervor. As Alaric was escorted back to his quarters, his mind raced with questions. He had always known his family was respected, but he never imagined the depth of their legacy, or how it might impact his current predicament. For the first time since his arrest, a flicker of hope ignited within him. If his ancestors' sacrifices could inspire such reverence, surely they could also help uncover the truth. Meanwhile, outside the courtroom, whispers spread like wildfire. The revelation about Alaric's heritage reignited debates about his innocence. Some argued that a descendant of Lord Darius would never betray the crown, while others remained skeptical, pointing out that even noble bloodlines were not immune to corruption. Merchants and commoners alike gathered in taverns and marketplaces, discussing the implications of Lady Montclair's announcement. The trial had taken a dramatic turn, and no one knew where it would lead next. Back in the courtroom, behind closed doors, Lady Montclair met privately with her clerks and advisors. She instructed them to dig deeper into the history of House Vane, searching for any records or documents that might shed light on the matter. At the same time, she ordered a forensic examination of the ledger, determined to uncover any flaws in the prosecution's evidence. Her actions signaled a pivotal shift in the proceedings, a move away from blind accusation and toward a quest for genuine justice. For Alaric, the day ended with a mixture of relief and unease. On one hand, the acknowledgement of his family's legacy offered a glimmer of redemption. On the other, it raised new questions about the forces working against him. Who stood to gain from destroying House Vane's reputation, and why had no One mentioned his ancestry before now. These mysteries weighed heavily on his mind as he prepared for the next phase of the trial, knowing that the answers lay just beyond reach, if only he could find them in time. The days following Lady Montclair's revelation were a whirlwind of activity. The courtroom had been adjourned, but the investigation into Alaric's case intensified behind the scenes. Forensic experts, historians, and scribes worked tirelessly to unravel the mysteries surrounding the ledger, the signatures, and the lineage of House Vane. Meanwhile, whispers of conspiracy began to ripple through the kingdom, fueled by the dramatic turn of events. For Alaric, these days were a mix of hope and uncertainty. Though his family's legacy had cast doubt on the accusations against him, he knew that proving his innocence would require more than just ancient tales of heroism. It would demand concrete evidence. Lady Montclair took charge of the forensic examination herself, ensuring that every detail was scrutinized. She summoned the kingdom's finest scholars and specialists, including a renowned calligrapher named Master Edric, who was known for his unparalleled expertise in handwriting analysis. Under his careful eye, the ledger bearing Alaric's supposed signature underwent rigorous testing. Using magnifying lenses and specialized tools, Master Edric examined the ink, paper, and strokes of the handwriting. What he discovered sent shockwaves through the investigation. The signature was indeed forged. The ink used was not from the Treasury's standard supplies, and microscopic inconsistencies revealed that the penmanship, while eerily similar to Alaric's, lacked the subtle nuances unique to his natural hand. This breakthrough was monumental, but it wasn't enough to fully exonerate Alaric. Lady Montclair pressed further, ordering an audit of the Treasury's records to trace any irregularities. Her team uncovered discrepancies in the inventory logs. Items listed as missing had actually been relocated to storage chambers without proper documentation. It seemed someone had deliberately manipulated the records to frame Alaric. But who and why? As the forensic team worked, historians delved into the archives to piece together the story of House Vane. They unearthed dusty scrolls and faded manuscripts detailing the deeds of Lord Darius Vane and his descendants. These documents painted a vivid picture of a family whose loyalty to the crown had never wavered. One scroll in particular caught everyone's attention. It detailed a pact made centuries ago between the royal family and House Vane, promising eternal protection and gratitude for their sacrifices. This discovery added another layer of complexity to the trial. Framing Alaric wasn't just an attack on him personally. It was an assault on a bloodline that symbolized the very foundation of the kingdom. While the investigators pieced together clues, Sir Cedric Hale, Alaric's defense counsel, seized the opportunity to build a stronger case. He interviewed witnesses again, this time focusing on their credibility. When questioned under pressure, one of the guards who claimed to have seen Alaric near the Treasury admitted that his testimony had been coerced. He revealed that a nobleman had approached him, offering gold in exchange for false statements. Another guard broke down entirely, confessing that he had been threatened with harm to his family if he didn't comply. These confessions pointed to a larger conspiracy, and all signs led to a man named Lord Cedwyn Harrow, a high-ranking noble. With a reputation for ambition and ruthlessness, Lord Cedwyn had long harbored resentment toward Alaric, believing that the captain's rise to prominence overshadowed his own contributions to the kingdom. Additionally, Lord Cedwyn stood to inherit vast wealth if Alaric were convicted and stripped of his titles. His motive became clear: jealousy, greed, and a desire to eliminate a rival. When confronted with the mounting evidence, Lord Cedwyn initially denied involvement. However, when presented with the guards' testimonies and financial records showing bribes paid to key figures, his composure crumbled. In a heated interrogation conducted by Lady Montclair herself, Lord Cedwyn confessed to orchestrating the entire scheme. He admitted to forging the ledger, bribing witnesses, and manipulating records, all in an attempt to destroy Alaric's reputation. His plan had been meticulous, designed to exploit weaknesses in the system and capitalize on public distrust. But he hadn't anticipated the resilience of Alaric's allies or the depth of House Vane's legacy. The confession sent shockwaves through the kingdom. News of Lord Sedwin's betrayal spread quickly, sparking outrage among the people. Many felt betrayed by a man they had trusted, while others praised Lady Montclair and her team for uncovering the truth. For Alaric, the vindication was bittersweet. While he was relieved to have his name cleared, the ordeal had taken a toll on him. He couldn't help but wonder how such treachery could thrive unchecked within the walls of the castle he had sworn to protect. On the day the trial resumed, the atmosphere in the grand hall was electric. The crowd gathered once again, eager to hear the outcome of the investigation. Lady Montclair presided over the proceedings with quiet authority, her expression betraying none of the emotions she must have felt. She began by summarizing the findings: the forged ledger, the coerced testimonies, and Lord Sedwin's confession. Each revelation drew gasps from the audience, confirming what many had suspected, that Alaric was innocent. Lady Harlow, the prosecutor, looked visibly shaken. Her earlier confidence had evaporated in the face of overwhelming evidence. When given the chance to speak, she offered a brief apology, acknowledging that the prosecution had acted on flawed information. It was a rare moment of humility from a woman known for her pride, and it underscored the gravity of the situation. Finally, it was time for judgment. Lady Montclair addressed the court, her voice steady and commanding. "Captain Alaric Darius, Vane," she declared, "you have been wrongfully accused of a crime you did not commit. The evidence before us proves your innocence beyond doubt. Not only are you free of these charges, but you also stand as a testament to the enduring legacy of your ancestors. Your family's sacrifices have shaped this kingdom, and we owe you our deepest gratitude." The crowd erupted in cheers, their applause echoing through the hall. Soldiers saluted, merchants clapped enthusiastically, and even some nobles rose to their feet in respect. Alaric, however, remained seated, overwhelmed by the weight of everything that had transpired. As the noise subsided, Lady Montclair called for silence once more. "But let this be a lesson to us all," she continued. "Justice is not blind. It requires vigilance, integrity, and a willingness to seek the truth, no matter how deeply it may be buried. Let us honor Captain Vane not only by clearing his name, but also by ensuring that such injustices never occur again." With those final words, the trial concluded, leaving the kingdom with much to reflect upon. For Alaric, the journey was far from over. Though his innocence had been proven, the scars of betrayal ran deep. Yet, amidst the pain, there was also a renewed sense of purpose. He vowed to use this experience to strengthen the bonds of trust within the kingdom, ensuring that no one else would suffer as he had. And as he walked out of the courtroom, surrounded by supporters and admirers, he carried not just his restored honor but also the enduring legacy of House Vane, a reminder that true strength lies not in power or wealth, but in unwavering loyalty and courage. In the days following the trial, the kingdom was swept up in a wave of reflection and celebration. The streets buzzed with conversations about justice, loyalty, and the enduring legacy of House Vane. Alaric's name, once tarnished by false accusations, was now spoken with renewed admiration. Banners bearing the crest of the Royal Guard fluttered proudly from rooftops, and children played games where they pretended to be Captain Alaric, defending the kingdom against invisible foes. For many, the trial had become more than just a legal proceeding. It was a lesson in resilience, truth, and the importance of questioning appearances. Alaric himself spent those first few days in quiet solitude, retreating to his modest quarters within the castle walls. Though he was free, the ordeal had left its mark on him. He replayed the events in his mind: the betrayal, the forged evidence, the public scrutiny, and each memory served as a reminder of how fragile trust could be. Yet amidst the turmoil, there was also clarity. He realized that his role as captain of the Royal Guard extended beyond protecting the physical safety of the kingdom. It meant safeguarding its values, too. Betrayal like Lord Sedwin's didn't just harm individuals. It weakened the foundation of trust that held society together. Determined to rebuild what had been shaken, Alaric resolved to dedicate himself not only to service, but also to fostering unity and transparency within the ranks. The king summoned Alaric to the throne room shortly after the trial ended. When Alaric entered, he found the monarch seated on his grand chair, looking older and wearier than before. The weight of the scandal had clearly taken its toll, but when the king saw Alaric approach, his expression softened into one of gratitude. "Captain Vane," he said, rising to meet him, "you have endured much, and for that I am deeply sorry." His voice trembled slightly as he continued, "I allowed doubt to cloud my judgment, and for that I must ask your forgiveness." Alaric bowed respectfully, though his heart swelled at the king's words. "Your Majesty," he replied, "your apology is accepted. What matters now is moving forward, together. This kingdom has faced trials, but it has emerged stronger because we sought the truth. Let us use this moment to ensure such injustices never happen again." The king nodded solemnly, then gestured for Alaric to rise. "You are right, Captain. That is why I have decided to grant you a position of even greater responsibility. From this day forward, you will serve not only as captain of the royal guard but also as an advisor to the crown. Your wisdom and integrity are needed now more than ever." Alaric accepted the honor with humility, knowing the challenges ahead would require every ounce of his strength and resolve. As he left the throne room, he felt a renewed sense of purpose, a calling to protect not just the people but the very ideals upon which the kingdom stood. Meanwhile, Lady Montclair took steps to ensure accountability for those involved in the conspiracy. Lord Sedwin Harrow was stripped of his titles and lands, sentenced to live out his days in exile. Those who had aided him, whether through bribery or coercion, faced consequences ranging from fines to imprisonment. Lady Montclair made it clear that no act of treachery, no matter how small, would go unpunished. At the same time, she implemented reforms within the judicial system to prevent similar injustices in the future. New protocols were introduced to verify evidence, and independent oversight committees were established to review high-profile cases. Her actions earned her widespread respect, solidifying her reputation as a champion of fairness and integrity. For Alaric, the weeks that followed were a time of healing and rebuilding. He reconnected with old allies, many of whom had stood by him during his darkest hours. Sir Cedric Hale, his defense counsel, became a close friend, often joining Alaric for meals and discussions about justice and leadership. Together they drafted proposals aimed at improving communication between the royal court and the common people, believing that transparency was key to preventing mistrust. Alaric also reached out to the two guards who had initially testified against him, offering them forgiveness and a chance to redeem themselves. Their remorse was genuine, and under Alaric's guidance they worked hard to restore their reputations. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden hues across the castle grounds, Lady Montclair visited Alaric in his quarters. She carried with her a small wooden box, intricately carved with symbols of the kingdom. Setting it down on the table, she explained its significance. "This belonged to my ancestors," she said softly. "It contains letters written by those who owed their lives to your family. They swore an oath to protect the descendants of House Vane, and I intend to honor that vow." Alaric opened the box carefully, marveling at the aged parchment inside. Each letter told a story of gratitude and loyalty, penned by men and women whose families had been saved by Lord Darius Vane centuries ago. As he read through them, tears welled in his eyes, not out of sadness but out of pride. For so long he had carried the burden of proving his worth, unaware of the profound impact his ancestors had made. Now, holding these letters in his hands, he felt connected to something far greater than himself. Lady Montclair placed a hand on his shoulder. "Your family's legacy is not just a tale of heroism. It is a promise kept alive by generations. You embody that promise, Captain Vane. Never forget that." With her words echoing in his mind, Alaric began to embrace his heritage fully. He commissioned a series of murals depicting the deeds of Lord Darius and other members of House Vane, ensuring that their stories would continue to inspire future generations. He also initiated programs to educate young soldiers about the values of honor, courage, and sacrifice, qualities that defined his lineage. Through these efforts, he hoped to create a legacy of his own, one built on the foundations laid by his ancestors. As months passed, life in the kingdom returned to normal, though it was a new normal. Trust had been tested, but it had also been strengthened. People spoke openly about the importance of vigilance and accountability, and leaders at all levels worked to foster a culture of transparency. Alaric played a central role in this transformation, earning not just respect but genuine affection from the people he served. On a crisp autumn morning, a ceremony was held in the Grand Hall to formally reinstate Alaric as captain of the Royal Guard. Nobles, soldiers, merchants, and commoners gathered to witness the occasion. Lady Montclair presided over the event, her presence lending gravitas to the proceedings. After delivering a heartfelt speech about the enduring spirit of House Vane, she presented Alaric with a ceremonial sword engraved with the words, "Loyalty lives eternal." When it was Alaric's turn to speak, he stepped forward, his voice steady yet filled with emotion. "Today I stand before you not as a victim of injustice, but as a testament to the power of truth and perseverance," he began. "My journey has taught me that even in our darkest moments we can find light if we choose to seek it. Let us remember that trust is earned through action, and justice is upheld through unity. Together, we can build a kingdom where honor reigns supreme." The crowd erupted in applause, their cheers echoing through the hall. As Alaric raised the ceremonial sword high above his head, sunlight streaming through the stained glass windows illuminated his figure, casting a radiant glow around him. In that moment, he wasn't just a man. He was a symbol of hope, resilience, and the timeless virtues of House Vane. And so, Alaric walked away from the ceremony not just as a restored captain, but as a guardian of the kingdom's soul. His journey had been fraught with challenges, but it had also revealed the strength of his character and the depth of his legacy. Whatever lay ahead, he knew he would face it with courage, guided by the lessons of the past and the unwavering belief that true justice always prevails.